Listen, I don't know why I'm so giggly and giddy at 3:22 in the morning. I have here a pineapple martini, and today we are going to focus on incompatibility of signs. We are going to discuss Aquarius and Pisces. Fixed air uh, and mutable water. The ocean. Now, water and air is a square. However, when it comes to Pisces and Aquarius, remember, they're right next to each other. So that's not a 90-degree square. We call that a 45-degree square or a semi-square. And if you have seen my earlier videos, understand that a semi-square is a source of irritation. Irritation that if it's not taken care of can lead to a full 90-degree opposition, which then connotes conflict. You know, conflict doesn't happen right away. It builds. Irritation is the first aspect of a full blown out conflict that involves an interpersonal exchange between one human being and another. Okay, so how do we see this combination in nature? Oh, first of all, let me say one or two announcements. First of all, I hope you like the moon phases. I was supposed to do up to Gemini, but I had clients to see. Remember, I started at 12 noon. By the time I finished seeing clients, it was 8 o'clock in the evening. I took a little nap. I got up, had something to eat, had to see one more client, and then I watched Netflix, relaxed, did a spiritual bath, and then took another nap. And now I'm here doing compatibility and incompatibility of signs. So, as Sunday tomorrow, I'll be in church. Yes, I do go to church because I have to cleanse and replenish. You all know I know the Bible from head to toe. I cannot know the Bible from head to toe without going to church. And I've been a Catholic boy and a Catholic educated my entire life. So of course I'm going to know the Bible. So understand that by mid-afternoon, by 4 or 5 o'clock, I'll be done and I'll resume readings tomorrow after 6 in the evening Eastern Standard Time in New York City. Thank you again for those of you who are donating and making sure that we stay afloat. The theater season begins in 34 days. So the money's going to come in very handy. So I thank you. Okay. How do we ascribe? That's good with the announcements. Now, how do we find this combination in nature between Aquarius and Pisces? Well, fixed air and then mutable air. Well, if you're dealing, well, first of all, not mutable air, mutable water and fixed air. Mutable water, remember, can be the ocean, could be the river, can be the lake, but not really, because they do have their own symbols. So one has to be more creative, but also be factual when it comes to this combination, because this combination seem unseemly. Well, remember, when you're dealing with Pisces, nothing ever is what it seems. It is ruled by Neptune, the great deceiver, but also the great reformer and the great revealer. And it cuts and two edges. Remember, the symbol of Pisces and Neptune is the trident. Three forks, an equal amount. And it cuts outwardly and it cuts inwardly. So you know which direction the trident is going to head towards. You don't know which direction the fish are going to go. The opposite polarities, right? Two fishes going in opposite direction. But there's a point where the fishes meet and are equal. And then they are apart again. And that second where they meet, there is perfection. But then there's dissolution at the same time. Just like the shores of the ocean bring in all kinds of material from the depths of the ocean. Every time there's a high tide or a low tide, it brings all kinds of treasures to the surface. But sometimes it brings terrors to the surface. Life is both. Life is relative. So Pisces, out of the two, is probably, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. Pisces will probably be the most forgiving in the relationship. Let me take that back. If we're dealing with a Pisces woman and an Aquarius man, the Pisces woman will be very forgiving and accepting. I think for Aquarius to really be himself and be happy with a woman that will give him the space and freedom that he so desires, because if the freedom is not contingent upon his terms, then it's not freedom. It has to be on his terms. Otherwise, he's gonna say that you're unreasonable. And you'll fight him about it. Especially if you're an air sign or a fire sign. The Aquarian man, like the Scorpio man, even though Scorpio is water, the Aquarian man derives energy mentally from that kind of repartee and exchange. It flexes his muscle, which allows him to think outside the box. Aquarius needs his time alone to think and to think profoundly. That means that the Aquarian man has to separate at some point in your life. He's the type of guy that will go on a business trip and live from hotel room to hotel. Or he may have a home with his wife, but have an apartment in the city where he can just go and just be himself outside the dictates of role playing that society demands of him. And that includes his wife, his girlfriend, his children, his society, his race, his culture. He wants to separate from all of that from time to time. But it's difficult to do that when you're in a relationship or when you're married. Women don't go for that shit. So Aquarius, you gentlemen, what are you going to do? We know your need to be independent. And here and physically. And we know that women can possess your body for a moment, but no woman will win the prize. So it really depends on what type of Aquarian man one is. When we're dealing with the Aquarian man and the Pisces woman. But getting back to the analogy of where do we find this combination in nature? Well, we have what are called vortices in the planet. The Bermuda Triangle is a vortices. There's a series of vortices. Even though the ocean is fixed, even though the ocean is mutable water, that portion of the Bermuda Triangle is fixed because there's something that's going on in that part of the ocean that we cannot explain, that we don't understand. There's a vortices there. And if you fly, remember, Aquarius rules air. But this air is different. It's not the air of Gemini, the mutable air. This air is locked into some kind of portal in which planes disappear and don't come back. Remember Flight 19? It disappeared out of the face of the earth, crashing, nothing. It went to a eternal, something. We have no explanation of it. To this day, I personally know someone whose father disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. She went to school with me in Bridgeport. Her father disappeared. He was a pilot. Never seen again. Oh, baby. There are all kinds of horror stories. You see, well, what about Old Faithful, that vortex that appears and can sink ships out of nowhere in Lake Michigan, Lake Erie? That's another vortices. It's vortex, but we say vortices when it's more than one. So there are many mysterious vortices on our planet. And Aquarius and Pisces represent that strange and unusual aspect of nature found in our planet that we still don't understand. So, how do we translate into human personality and ego? How do we do it? And who's the boss? Who's the boss? We have to determine if you're age 30 or below, then you're not going to be evolved enough or adulterated enough to really know who you are completely. That in itself is a process. This is what we call growing pains, right? So understand that this is no different. Psychologists and theorists and early childhood educators and development specialists are correct about this. It is a developmental process. But in astrology, we have our own temporary psychological, psychosocial developmental process, which is spiral. Our human version of it is linear. That doesn't work. It looks good on theory, and I was a clinician. Not really realistic when it comes to clinical practice. Because we're not dealing with a linear human being. We're dealing with a holistic human being. The word holistic means circular. Because things come around and around. It is how things that are presented that really makes all the difference. And what system of philosophy you believe in and follow. This can be attributed to the relationship dynamic between Aquarius and Pisces. Understand that Pisces makes her own value system, or she can mimic and mirror your value system. So, if you're dealing with a Pisces woman with an Aquarian man, if the Aquarian man doesn't know his own self, doesn't know his own value system, the Pisces woman will reflect that in him. But she will be his best ally and his best teacher because she will teach by example and by showing the mirror effect of who you are as a reflection through her. Most men don't like to face themselves that seriously and that honestly. It takes courage, folks. And Aquarius, as much as he talks, he's basically a scared little lion. The opposite of Aquarius is Leo. What kind of lion is he internally? Remember, the opposite polarity always represents the subconscious. So in an Aquarian man, the subconscious is Leo. Is he a king? Does he feel like a king in the inside? Because if he does, he don't got to strap his feathers or his fur. No real confident lion will. But if he's insecure, there's something wrong with the lion within. The lion is wounded, like the Wizard of Oz, or lacks courage. Which Aquarian man are you dealing with? And where is his level of evolution? And is he willing to learn? And is he willing to let you in? With Aquarius, you just never know. You got to be the type of woman that you have to enjoy him as a taste treat, like an hors d'oeuvre, but not as a course meal. And that keeps things interesting and fluid. Don't fall in love if this is not the type of man that's willing to stick by. And this is something that I say to the Pisces woman who is so sensual and so sexual. And trust me, the Aquarian man can deliver the goods. She'll fall right away. How will she survive him separating when he needs to do his separation so he can think without any kind of influence? Because God forbid that he can think with others around him. But that is the psychological nature of the Aquarian male. He requires temporary separation from you indefinitely and with no excuses and with no explanation. That's tough for any woman to take, but that is the requirement of Aquarius. Remember, This man's approach to interpersonal relationship is very, very difficult. And what makes it difficult is that we don't understand it from the outside looking in. The other problem is that Aquarian man will not open the door for us to look inside. Because a lot of times he goes against his own convictions. He goes against his own values. And the Aquarian man will do that from time to time. That doesn't foster any kind of emotional security within himself either. Not enough that he can award another woman. Because he doesn't know. So he can guarantee if that will succeed in fostering a relationship with a human female who requires permanence, commitment, and longevity. The Aquarian man is not even sure how committed he is to himself. It depends on the level of evolution that he's at. And for that, you're going to have to know who he is. Independent of how you feel about him, sexually or otherwise. Because to him, ultimately, that doesn't matter. Freedom is the best aphrodisiac for this man. Now, let's flip it. And let's talk about the Aquarian woman and the Pisces man. Well, the Aquarian woman, remember, the opposite sign is Leo. So she's going to be attractive, sexy, eccentric, unavoidable, but also uncatchable. She tantalizes, she coys, but she pulls away. She approaches with a mind and lets you know what's underneath the veil. And you salivate. But if you're not out there in the mind like she wants it, then you're going to salivate what you want. You might not get it. Or she'll make you evolve yourself. So like that you'll be in the platform to be able to get it. Okay? The Aquarian woman is not that easy either. She requires mental stimulation. And if she doesn't get it, she'll be bored of you and your body, no matter how good it looks. Or she'll be one of these women that eventually will become cougars and will use men's bodies for their own physical gratification and enjoyment, but then go with the older man that stimulate their mind, but not their bottom. For that, they'll go for the younger boys. Remember, the opposite polarity is Leo. And Leo loves to be the object of affection and desire and also of prize. The sexual psychology of a Leo woman that she likes to see herself while she's being made love to. And sometimes she likes to see her partners that they made love to her so she can see the ecstasy on their face that she and her body is causing on them. Oh, it's deep. It's deep. It's deep. Okay? So understand that the Aquarian woman, and she likes objects in the bedroom. Right? So her level of approach to human sexuality is quite different and a little bit eccentric. And to her, it is just as normal as someone having sex in the park, in the bathroom, or in an airplane where the plane is 34,000 feet in the bathroom. Hello? It's all relative. And sexuality to this woman, the Aquarian woman, is also relative. Like Miss Gemini, who can have a quickie and it'll be just as gratifying as a Cancer woman who has sex with 3 men at the same time for hours. It is equally gratifying. It's just another level of human sexuality. Now, what about now the Pisces man? Now, come on. now, okay, now I gotta take a toke. I gotta take a hit. Come on. Pisces, come on. The whore, the whore, the whore. Listen, I'm a Virgo. My opposite is Pisces. Didn't I tell you I was a go-go dancer, a porno actor, and do all that kind of stuff, and loved and enjoyed it? A whore and enjoyed it. Every minute of it. Hungry, abandoned sexually. I can't do that now, I've been celibate for 5 years. I'm a priest. I can't do that now. I've done my thing. But understand that if you have that kind of fish, Pisces sexuality is insatiable. Why am I discussing sexuality when it comes to interpersonal human relationships? Because I'm not being contracted to talk about human sexuality. But unfortunately, the core basis of identity is sex when it comes to Pisces. It is a sign of the nymphomaniac, if you didn't know, and the sex addict, if you didn't know. I know. I'm not saying that all the Pisces men are like that, but they were, and they certainly are in their mind. Because sex is not just a physical thing, it can also be a mental thing. You go have sex in your mind and it'll be just as gratifying as jerking off in the bathroom for both man or woman. Okay? It really depends on the power of the mind. That's why the head is all the way up here and the genitals are all the way down here. The head governs this down here. Okay? And that it's a sacred mystery that has been guarded jealously by the ages. The Aquarian, the Pisces man stands to gain through the wisdom and the sexual discipline of the Aquarian woman. The approach to sex casually by the Aquarian woman and then infuse her genius mentally can elevate Mr. Pisces. And she is the type of woman that can do it. It is the Aquarian woman that can conquer Mr. Pisces. Mr. Pisces can't keep it in his pants, Mr. Pisces. Of course, we are talking about the lower nature, but we're also talking about the higher nature. Because it's one fish that represents the lower nature and one fish that represents the upper nature. One doesn't involve the other, they just are. To understand and accept and embrace Mr. Pisces, you have to embrace equally the shadow aspect of the sign. Remember, Pisces is God. And what does it say in chapter 45, Isaiah? I am God. I am the Lord. I create light. I form darkness. I create good. I create evil. I, God, do all these things. That's Jehovah talking to you in Isaiah in the Old Testament. Isn't that Pisces? Ain't no compromising these characteristics of Jehovah. Neither can you compromise them of Pisces. Remember, we are the reflection of the Creator, like it says in the Bible in Genesis. And God created us after our image, after our likeness. So if you don't like Pisces because he can't keep it in his pants, the best thing you can do is leave. The most mysterious aspect of the universe is the ocean. We have been to other planets. We have stepped ground in other planets, but we have yet to explore the depths of the ocean. And Pisces rules that. So you have to show a certain level of respect, even where respect is not warranted. This, unfortunately, could be another example of the War of the Roses. The semi-square, not the full 90-degree square, but the semi-square. It is the, again, symbol of irritation. So there has to be a lot of psychological and psychosocial adjustment for this combination to really do well together. And it really is a matter of self-respect, which can be questionable when it comes to the Pisces man, and sometimes the Pisces woman. But she has to ship more together than the Pisces man. Okay? Remember, the opposite polarity of Pisces is Virgo, the player. Okay? The sex worker. You know, the one who's loose with his body, with everybody. The chameleon. You know? So understand that sex is exciting to these men. And boredom, they can stay at the door. The Aquarian woman can weave a web with that kind of mentality and capture the Pisces and have him for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, afternoon snack, midnight snack, early morning snack, and breakfast all over again. And you think Mr. Pisces would be tired. He'd love it and even more. And we are done with part 1.